What is going on, Silver Squad? Welcome back to the Silver Site. My name is RJ.
Gerald.
Hero Harrison.
Dr. J.
I'm Desiree. Sorry, I was on mute.
welcome back to part 2 of Melanin in Media. We're doing a part 2 today. We're going to be talking about Black History Month. We're going to talk about all things Black movie related. Last week, if you were here, we talked about Black TV shows. We had a good time. You know, we kind of got our Black card revoked when we didn't see certain things. We learned that Dr. J has a huge crush on Kenan Thompson. Who knows what we're going to learn today? So, with that being said, let's get it started. So, if you could recommend one Black movie to someone who isn't into Black movies, what would be the movie that you'd recommend?
For me, oh man, a Black film specifically. Actually, no, I'm about to skip that for a second. I have to think about that.
If I had to offer one, and I wanted to go to the grit and how Black culture has continuously formed and shaped what our reality is, I would say one of two films. I would probably go with Boys in the Hood. That would probably be my number one. And I would say 1B maybe would be Menace to Society. And the main reason I'll say that is because what they did with both of those films is they took a hard look at the realities of some Black Americans and really, really, really gave you a gritty, just made you look at the culture and what actually happens in some of these communities. And these are things that have been continuously going on. And I believe in Menace to Society, they even showed clips and things of what happened with the Watts riots and all that stuff. So those would be two of my outright, like, you must see. I don't care what your race is, you should be able to see those things and understand that there are people who live those lives and continuously have had to, hold up a mirror to what we go through.
And to back you up on that, actually, now I thought about my movies. I think Black culture is important in all different angles, especially, because this is where like a lot of people live in the city. I think it's good to see that from that perspective because, people grow up in different situations, different environments, and that's just where culture is. And
shame on you, Shayna. Mute yourself, man.
But yeah, I think two movies actually that are instilled in Black culture and also actually have like action packed and I think will keep somebody's attention. If I were to recommend, will be one, Concrete Cowboy. Actually, me and Des watched that a while back, and the reason I say that, being a cowboy movies,
it was really good.
yeah. And the reason I bring up cowboy movies is because I think that's so that needs to be instilled in people's heads because a lot of people don't understand that Black culture actually started with us when it comes to cowboys and ranches and all that.
Facts.
And then the last one is The Harder They Fall. I think it's just another really good movie that has like a lot of presence of blackness, and I think people need to get used to seeing more Black people as a whole, as groups on the screen to normalize everything.
Yeah. I feel like for me, I gotta go old school, at least growing up. Poetic Justice is one for me because I feel like it's a classic. It's a classic. And The Wood is also one of my favorite movies. Like, I feel like I watched it super young and I don't know. I feel like those two movies just aged really well throughout the years. So
okay.
Yeah. For me, I don't know. I maybe because I'm drawing a blank right now, but I would say just any Black film that you can get a hold of. I would say anything really, a variety, if you can.
So
it's always good.
So for me, I have 3 actually. Crooklyn to showcase
yes
Black families.
One of my favorites.
Yes.
who to also showcase Black families in that we're not perfect, you know. And then my favorite movie that contains Black love is Intergalactic, the movie on Netflix with Kid Cudi.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
clear one.
Good one.
That was a clear one.
Amazing.
Unpopular opinion, Kid Cudi's my favorite rapper. I don't care if people feel like he's not the
Hey,
best.
that's all subjective. I don't even argue with people
My
about their
favorite.
favorite
That's
artists. That's subjective.
I don't know
even.
why I didn't remember Intergalactic. I watched it. I guess because it was a cartoon. I
Yeah.
wasn't like thinking about it, but that was a really good movie. It did
Yeah.
showcase Black love. So
Yeah. I still need to watch it. I haven't seen it yet.
And most importantly, it showcased imperfect Black love. It was two people who, you know, who were drawn to each other, but they let themselves both get in the way at times and let other things influence them, but they still were able to kind of come together and have like kind of healthy communication. So for me, I think it was important to show that. A lot of times when we get Black couples on television, it's a lot of toxicity, it's a lot of drama.
Tyler Perry.
Exactly. Crackhead, Jesus, and credits. Like we're tired.
No, it's real. No,
it's real. Like abusive dark husband.
You forgot
like,
the bad wigs.
I'm so a light-skinned male hero with a nice body. Like we get it. Like at some point, like we gotta showcase good Black love, healthy Black love. And I feel like Intergalactic is such a good balance of that because we get to see the imperfections of, you know, a growing, budding relationship. And we get to see two people learn to have mature communication and ultimately end up with each other, which is the goal for, you know, Black people. So I think that needs to be normalized. And Intergalactic, it tugged on my heartstrings a lot. It made me realize that maybe I might be the problem, but I'm not the problem at the same time. But, you know, Intergalactic taught me some things. I appreciate it for that.
I feel like it's super underrated. Intergalactic for sure is super underrated. I don't remember ever seeing any promo around it or press around it, truth be told. I think I just watched it because it popped up on Netflix and I knew Kid Cudi was in it.
Yeah.
But after I watched it, I never heard anybody. You're the first person I've actually heard like talk about it, right? Yeah. I have never heard anybody actually talk about it.
Yeah, I think it came out before they started really pushing a lot of their content too.
Now, speaking of love, there's one thing I did want to talk about when it comes to Spike Lee films. I really feel like Spike Lee does a good job with certain, not maybe all his films, but like certain aspects and angles of how he has a certain vision for things. So one example was like when it comes to love, and I'm not talking about just like one piece. Yeah, Meteor Man's a classic. One movie I was talking about was The Five Bloods. I think The Five Bloods is probably like one of the best. Spike Lee's one of his best films. But not only that, I think it shows so many different parts of how Black people, we are so different. But I mean, we're the same, but we're also different, especially when it comes to our views. But there's still that representation of love deep down, but it's just a different type of love.
Yeah.
Shayna, let me tell you something, Shayna. It's okay because I'm going to say something and y'all might jump on me.
Oh, Lord.
I was about to say, is this a safe space this week? Because
listen, it depends.
I haven't been saying much. I'm not going to say what I didn't see.
Listen, it's just a response. It's a response. It's not an attack. It's a response.
No, we attacked her last week. Yeah, that was.
I would agree with that. I think we trolled her a little bit, but
it was hazing.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll say this. I've never seen Poetic Justice.
Oh no!
You know what? I've never seen Crooklyn, so it's okay.
No, not the same. Not the same.
Oh,
not the same.
You see what I mean?
I'm gonna let y'all. Day and RJ, y'all gotta handle that because I don't know how to respond.
I could give you not seeing Crooklyn. Crooklyn can come across as a niche for some people.
Yeah.
But not have seen Poetic Justice as
I know.
Taboo, man.
And the thing is, one time it was on, and I wasn't doing well. I was doing something, but I wasn't doing anything where I couldn't pay attention. Yeah. But when I tell you, I just had no interest.
Bro, that show. Being a classic, we talked about this off camera before everybody was on, and I said the one thing I'll say about some of these movies, they weren't even necessarily great.
Yeah.
They also showed a lot of toxicity, and how the stories were being told were almost like real life for how people's lives go. Like I said, I'm kind of afraid to try to give people relationship advice. I listen, what works for me in my marriage, it might not be the same for some people.
Yeah,
So in order to like understand what you're watching, sometimes I try my best to separate myself from what I'm watching. So when I see certain things, that's why I can't watch certain stuff with my wife. I'm like, you're not gonna be staring holes in the side of my face while something happening. And I'll be like, that's not me. So
no Tyler Perry in your house.
No, we don't even. Nah, we both have already sworn that off. I'm like, oh no.
Strong marriage.
Good
marriage.
I still think about that Tyler Perry episode, man. I know I said it last week, but the Atlanta episode, man. God. But I do actually have a question for everyone in the chat and everyone here right now. So what was your the very first time, or at least the very first movie, your first Denzel Washington movie, or at least the first movie that you saw him in? What was your first Denzel Washington movie? Yeah.
So I will. I'll have to show my age. My first Denzel Washington movie would have been, golly, shoot. It was a movie. He was a cop. I believe.
I got you.
Was it Mathau? Was the golly?
It's gonna kill me.
It's from like it's like. Ooh, it is.
It's like I think late 80s, early 90s, right?
It's early 90s.
Fallen?
No. Fallen was like mid 90s.
He was a cop. Training Day?
No, it was way before that.
First movie I really noticed Denzel and was Training Day.
Yeah. Virtuosity. No, not Virtuosity. It was
golly, I'd have to look it up honestly because I can't. It's like not popping up into my brain.
Was there a white girl in it?
Oh, Ricochet. You talking about Ricochet?
There we go.
Ricochet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
When he stripped down to his skivvies and had his gun tucked in his tighty whities. And yeah.
I say Training Day for me was the first like real Denzel movie. I was like, oh, that's Denzel. Mm-hmm. And like as I kind of like got older and started like watching more movies, and I was like, oh, okay, so he's done stuff before this or whatever. And I think it took me a while to like, because I one thing I'm really bad at, because I'm a hater, and so I only recognize actors that I be hating on. So like for me, I always liked Denzel, so I never really paid attention until Training Day, and that's when I kind of went back and started like looking at his filmography, and I was like, oh, okay, so he's our top.
He's cold-blooded, bro.
Yeah, he's our top black actor.
Yeah.
I just literally watched Remember the Titans the other day.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I love
that. Watched it.
Such a great movie.
Yeah, I think that was the first movie I saw him in. Either that one or Devil in a Blue Dress, I think.
I was about to say the same. Yeah, mine's either Devil in the Blue Dress.
Or... That was a Spike Lee movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another movie that I really started respecting Denzel for was The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was really good.
They got a lot of flack because that was they felt like that wasn't a great retelling of it, but you know, it was him and John Travolta.
Yeah.
And they basically said, oh, that was kind of a rip-off remake, not really a retelling. So
yeah,
I thought it was entertaining, but some movies that just it's something to see.
Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. No, The Pelican Brief was actually, I think, one of the first.
Oh, now that's top notch right there.
Yeah, but I mean, I was like 3, so I watched the game. I was like 6 when I had a conscience, you know. So
you had to go back and watch it after you got became so conscious.
Right? Yeah, pretty much. From what I was told.
So speaking of movies that we had to rewatch, so let's talk about this. And me and Gerald had mentioned this backstage. A movie that did not age well for me was Love and Basketball.
Yes.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
I'm indifferent about Love and Basketball. People seem to love it. I feel like you find two sets of people who absolutely adore Love and Basketball.
Love,
And I feel like you find me, who I'm just like, it wasn't that good.
I agree. I do feel like, first off, the movie was it was too long. And second, I feel like that there's just the bashing of how they treated black women in that, just like how, like, they were viewing the relationship status of, like, one's supposed to be, taking care of this person, and then how this woman's supposed to just, take it and accept it, and she's supposed to, like, why is she fighting for it to take him back? It's like, you can just have a conversation about it's not a big deal.
I agree. It does double down on, and we see it on social media a lot, like, you have to go through trauma to be happy at the end. And I'm like, that would work for me. I would have left you on day one and found somebody like you.
You don't have to. Like, you don't have to.
Yeah, and then the power dynamics around it and everything. We watched it when we were younger. I think a lot of us did. At least I don't want to speak for everyone, but I did. I liked it when I was young. Now that I'm older and more mature, I see that their relationship dynamic wasn't it.
Yeah, but it was. Yeah, think about it. When it comes out, it's different because it's representation. So you're cheering that piece of it more than you're actually looking at what's being offered to you. That's kind of how you have the ability to make the statements we make about, like, these Tyler Perry films. It's like, okay, you can't just keep shoveling us poop and keep telling us we like it, because no, we don't.
Yeah.
So you know what it is? I'm not going to be there with that.
You know what it is? Because representation isn't enough anymore. We also require good storytelling. We also require good writing, good dialogue.
And it's okay to do that. It's okay to demand that. Even when it's not even when it's not just us making stuff. That's why that's why Black Panther was so polarizing, because everybody's like, oh, y'all celebrating this, and all these non-black people had their hand in it and blah blah blah. And okay, great. But at the end of the day, from an entertainment standpoint, that was the upper echelon of what we were being represented as, whether it was real or not, because obviously black people did not know that Wakanda's not a real place.
They looked it up. That Google search was crazy.
Some people looked it up, and other people was dead. It's over here, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's not.
Oh, that's people didn't know. I feel like that's the craziest thing ever, because I remember I was teaching one of my classes at the university at that point, and one of the students was like, so where on the map is Wakanda? I was like, I thought it was a joke, so I kept the class going. I'm like, I know he ain't talking to me.
Like, sir, mute yourself.
That's insane though, because again, like Gerald was mentioning, we talked about this, like, off stage stuff, like just how people want to get their hands and judge certain aspects of black culture, but not knowing that even a simple Google search, or just even like the school system has failed us in certain ways, because a lot of people aren't educated and don't even know that, like, stuff like this fantasy stuff is not real, some of the stuff. But
for people to assume,
minis all over the house, and I get on my daughter all the time. Ask Google.
I'm like, for people to assume on the content of Africa there's a country named Wakanda that has never been brought up until this movie brought it up, and on that country that they're assuming there's this mythical thing that creates.
Yeah, it's like it's this lost land. It's like the lost city of Z or something that they found, and all of a sudden this vibranium is. Next thing you know, they're gonna think vibranium's real and stuff. So
listen, if vibranium was real, we would have heard about that from day one, because the U.S. would have swooped it up.
And would have went right to war too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we would have been able to, go to war.
Oh yeah.
That's one thing the U.S. loves, is going to war over stuff. But back to what Gerald said, it's really important for not just things represented, but for stuff to be good, and for Black culture to be woven into the fabric of the films that we're watching. And so, for me, one important thing to me for a Black film was a good soundtrack. Like, what Black film to y'all has a good soundtrack? For me,
Dead Presidents.
It's gonna be soulful.
Hands down, Dead Presidents. That is my all-time favorite soundtrack on the planet. That, I'm telling you, man, that soundtrack was so cold-blooded to me. I've never been like that enthralled with a soundtrack. I mean, and I've heard a lot of good soundtracks.
Yeah.
But that one just I don't care where I am. If I ever hear any song from that, I'll be like, that's it right there.
Tuned in, yeah.
Nice.
I think mine was probably not like one of my favorites, but I do like it. It was probably the American Gangster, the one, Denzel Washington movie, the soundtrack.
Oh, the Jay-Z deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was okay. It wasn't the best.
I'm a Jay-Z fan, but I was kind of like,
yeah. I feel
Yeah. For me, it would be the Black Panther soundtrack. I'm so in love with Kendrick. I love everything he does. That's forever going to be a GOAT soundtrack for me.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Thank you.
For me, I want to say Juice. I feel like Juice got all the old school hip hop songs on there.
Yeah.
And I'm also a big fan of the movie, so.
Yeah. Oh,
man, that actually would have been a good pick too as a movie for everybody to see.
Oh, Juice.
See that friend set and how they navigated life, and everybody had their own choices to make, and they did. Whether it was
paid in full as well. Paid in full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Waiting still had a good soundtrack too.
I wonder sometimes there's like so many memes about like a lot of these 90s movies, like Money Making Mitch from Paid in Full and the Tupac, every line Tupac doesn't like Juice. I always wonder I wonder if people are using the memes and they've just never seen the movie and they're just like, oh, it makes sense. Like even Poetic Justice wouldn't be like, cousin. I'm like, you don't know where it came from?
I noticed that a lot, especially on TikTok. There's a lot of people who do post like a lot of memes, and you go to the comments and you're like, "Oh wait, I don't even know what this is from. I just posted it." I'm just like, what?
Or like, it's or that sound. He's a good man, Savannah, and it's like when they post the actual video, they're like, "Oh, like Angela Bassett was in that movie," and it's like, yeah, how do you not know Angela Bassett was in that movie?
They've never seen it. That's the craziest thing. And I want to say on TikTok that He's a Good Man, Savannah, has been overused on TikTok.
A lot.
And a lot of times people don't look like us using it. So I'm like, but did y'all watch the movie?
Well, that's the thing, though. They try to go out for context or clicks, and so they don't take the time to really pay attention. I saw for the first time. I actually saw the video. The whole video, I have no idea how I ran across this. The whole video, the guy who's doing the thing like this. I finally saw that whole video, and I was like, "You could have showed me that 100 times, and I would have." And like only because I knew who the guy was, and from the end, no clue.
Not gonna lie, I saw the whole video last week for the first time, so I think it's making its rounds on Instagram. Because last week I seen it for the first time. I said, "So this came from a conversation with your mama?" This whole
some random. It was so random.
Or that Nick Young meme where he's kind of like,
that I saw it live when the game was happening. But stuff like I think though, culturally, with whatever type of relevance each of us, whatever kind of footprint we make, that drives what other people do. And so when they hear that "Bye Felicia" or they hear that just any kind of sound bite, oh, that's where that's from, you had no clue, because the first time you actually heard it was in Boys in the Hood. You didn't hear it I'm sorry, not Boys in the Hood. You heard it on no. So you heard it on Friday, but I'm saying the first time you actually heard it was when they reused it in the Straight Outta Compton. It was the first time somebody heard it, and then everybody's running around talking about "Bye Felicia." Like, no, that was actually when Friday came out. So sometimes people just take that stuff and run with it, as opposed to, because I catch my son doing it. I'm like, you like the Cliff Stones version of everything, bro. Like, just go back and watch it. You old enough. I ain't tripping. Go watch it.
But that just
so you can get real context.
That just speaks to how much culture we have. And how important our movies are, and that's why we had said it last week. Like, if there's a black show for every genre, every type of movie that you want, there's the same stands for black movies. If you want a horror comedy, we got the blackening. Like, it's there.
It is, and it's just funny because everyone does use AAV, and they say it's like these kids are talking like this nowadays. It's like, well, no, that language actually comes from us. It's not kids making that up because they learn, they adapt to what they hear. So
that's not Gen Z slang. Like
it's not Gen Z slang. It's never been Gen Z slang. Everything goes back to us. So just wanted to mention that.
Some of their stuff is just terrible. They just completely just misusing words. So.
All the time. I see all the time.
Some of it's just bad. They just take a random sound and just try to make it a word and be like, no, that's not. That makes no sense.
No.
So I do want to ask this question. If you could reboot any classic Black movie with a modern twist, which one would you choose and who would you cast in the lead?
The Spawn. And I know it's getting a reboot. But the reason I say that is because that movie was so bad. God, that movie is horrible.
It wasn't good at all.
And I would honestly, if I was going to recast somebody, I'd probably just put. I'd probably give Michael Jai White another chance, but if not, then probably Aldous Hodge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine is Baps.
Oh,
Baps.
That's
and I would put Keke Palmer. And I'm gonna go on a limb here. I feel like China Anne McClain.
I respect that.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah.
For me, I don't know the answer to this particular question. It's a really good question. I would have to sit on it.
Or you could take a movie and do like Black casting.
That's a good question.
Black casting.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, but maybe do something like maybe a Black cast of War of the Worlds, Des. That'd be kind of.
Oh my God! Could you imagine that? First of all,
it lasts like 13 minutes. We're out.
I think it would be funny though, because the Black folks wouldn't be sitting there around that hole waiting for the alien to come out. We'd be gone.
Yeah.
That would be okay. Maybe.
Oh, you know what? Dawn of the Dead with Black people.
Oh my God, man! I would love to see a zombie movie.
We need a Black zombie movie.
Yeah, we do.
Can we do a parody version of that?
Yes, with Black people, with the Wayans brothers.
Yeah.
I'd be okay at that. I'd be okay. If all like 20 of them were in that movie, I'd be okay.
All of them. All of them.
That's a really great. Yeah, that's a great idea. We should propose that.
I could do that.
I would love to see a twist on Misery with either somebody like Idris Elba and maybe like Angela Bassett or something as the protagonist. Because I think you could draw enough of you could create this false sense of like connection with like two attractive characters, but then find out she's actually crazy. Like a twist on it like that, because like if you think about that movie, what was dude? Because Kathy Bates obviously wasn't even a catch for him.
Yeah.
But what was his name? James Caan, I think. Like he was already older, so he was established as an author or whatever. So, but I think creating almost like a low key like okay, this lady might be all right, or whatever as a fan, and then come to find out, she dropped a little something in his drink and then kidnapped him. And he's like, hey, you gonna rewrite this story for me. Like I read all the books and I don't like this, so something like that I think would be good for me, because I think that's more along the lines of something that really would happen, as opposed to us saying, nah, I ain't fooling with you, I'm out.
Let's be real, those movies will be 10 minutes long because we know, but absolutely. I feel like that's another reason why black horror. I feel like we need it because I want to see how black people react in situations like that.
But I think the twist and all of that stuff has to do with like the attractiveness of people and things like that. Because really, that's what happens a lot in those non-black movies. Sometimes it's not all just let me go see what that noise was. Sometimes it's like let me see how this situation is gonna play out. And then they find out it's too late. Now they, in the thick of it. So that's I think a little bit of a twist you could put on it.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
What did y'all think of Tales in the Hood?
I liked it. I liked the first better.
I never saw the second one. I didn't want to. It didn't get good reviews, but the first one scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, the first one.
I shouldn't have been watching it at my age. I shouldn't.
I thought it was good.
I might do it.
I love all that stuff. I mean, anything Creep Show, Twilight Zone, adjacent, Freddy's Nightmares, all that stuff. I watched all that stuff. So anything Tales from the Hood, it was hilarious because it was like this is so dumb and far fetched, but it's still entertaining, So
another movie too was Bone. I mean, I'm not like a big fan, but Bone was a good movie.
With Bianca Lawson. Will something. What's his name? Darnell.
Yeah.
From Girlfriends.
Yep.
Right.
And Pam Grier was in that, right?
Yep, she sure was.
Yep. Pam Grier, yeah.
Yep.
Bone. I first saw Bones on BET. It was like 2:00 in the morning. I was like, what the hell is this? And I watched it. I was like, and I enjoyed it. I that's probably one of my favorite like black horror movies. I was genuinely scared. I didn't like the ending though. I was hoping that everybody, made it out. But yeah, I love Bones.
2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, I was just chilling. And it was a school night too. I was just up for no reason. And
at least it was before the witching. Well, no, that's during isn't it the witching hour?
Isn't that? No, that's 2, right?
Is it? Yeah, I think 2 falls in that range. I think the witching hour. Let me look that up. But you playing it dangerously close either way.
Now, RJ, I know you asked us a difficult question. Now, I do have another one that was kind of like the same thing with Denzel. So, what was one of your first Samuel Jackson movies that you saw?
Oh,
he's in a ton.
Where he was actually like a main player or just a part?
Like a cameo.
I was going to say Deep Blue Sea.
I was going to say.
Just I guess the first time you saw him in the movie. It doesn't have to be his
Coming
own
to
movie.
America. He came in there and robbed at McDowell's. And got put down with a mop.
That's such a great line.
Now Samuel L. Jackson, like I love that man, but just about in every movie, he's literally just Samuel L. Jackson. It's sort of like the Ryan Reynolds effect. Like Ryan Reynolds is always playing Ryan Reynolds. Like Samuel L. Jackson is always playing Samuel L. Jackson.
There's my dad had an obsession with Pulp Fiction, so that's the very first movie I saw him in.
Yeah,
I just passed by. I was like, "Oh, it's Samuel Jackson." But
yeah.
I
actually think he has. I think he has range.
Oh yeah, he does. He does.
I do.
Really
I do.
does.
I think he has range.
Negotiator.
Artist.
Negotiator was cold-blooded.
Oh yeah.
yeah. I do agree with that. I think he does have. It depends on what it is, for the most part.
He's done so many films though, man. It's ridiculous.
This dude has like 200 credits.
Yeah, I mean, dudes and Do the Right Thing. Like he was in a lot of stuff.
He's everyone's favorite uncle.
He really is.
He and what was that movie? He and Ben Affleck was in, where they had that car accident. Changing Lanes.
That's right.
Like, bro, that man. There was a lot of stuff because I think he was trying to get to like a custody hearing, and Ben Affleck runs him off the road, and man, it goes left like fast. So
Reasonable Doubt, Django.
Oh yeah.
Oh yep.
Glass.
Are there any black movies that you're just like not fond of? Like you when it comes on, you're just like, yeah, no. Mine and y'all might that's my
what was that?
The Nutty Professor. I cannot stand that movie.
I can agree.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent.
It makes me nauseous. I don't know why.
I feel like
I'm gonna stay quiet.
Norbit makes me a little bit more nauseous.
Norbit, I'd say.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm an Eddie Murphy fan, so I it's hard for me to just. But Norbit, I just couldn't do it. Norbit just was.
What's the one with one of the Wayans brothers that was like a baby? Oh, every time.
Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That one too.
I don't like movies like that. Kind of. I agree with RJ on that. They're kind of weird. They just doing the whole CGI and then like the makeup and it just throws me off a little bit. And it wasn't funny to me.
Yeah, I can't suspend my disbelief for stuff like that. No, I'm good.
I think Norbit would be mine, but I feel like it's maybe an unpopular opinion because the amount of people that share clips from that movie, and I'm like, Restitution wasn't that funny. Like, I don't, none of it was that funny to me. So
I feel like certain black films, like some are funny, like some are good, but like the ones I feel like we try to make fun, make fun of ourselves. Those were the ones where it's kind of like it's not that funny in some ways.
Because you know what? It's like with a stand-up comedian. It's different to punch up. It's different to punch laterally, but it felt like a punch down the whole movie. It was just making fun of like black women, and I always wondered as like a kid when I was younger watching it why I just never laughed. And like as I get older and more conscious, like what Jay said, I'm just like, oh, that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah, because there's times where I'm like, they're making fun of a person. Even them, just like, well, this to me is not. It's not funny at all. Actually,
I didn't care for it.
Yeah,
you're taking a trope and just hammering it to the ground.
Yeah. And you're giving non-black people permission to laugh at us.
Exactly.
That's what I didn't like.
That's where my issue with, like Shayna said, that's where my issue with a lot of Tyler Perry's movies are. I get it that there are messages. I'm not lost on that idea, but I also feel like you can give me a message and you don't have to slap me across the face with disrespect.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's well said.
And you shouldn't have to treat all of your women and all your films like punching bags, if you will, in order to like forcing that trauma just to get them through or to be dragged across the finish line by some rando is not always the case. Like everybody don't need to be saved. Sometimes they can save themselves,
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair, to that type of storytelling all the time.
And I think you summed that up really well because just to add on one more thing to that, it's not there are things that can be funny, but it's just also the culture and how we've been seen as over the years as the butt of a joke. A minstrel show, as I was mentioning offline. It's not funny.
Yeah, or either that or with the thugs. And I guess to a certain point where you kind of get tired of seeing that on TV. Like black men, black women are multifaceted. We've said as many times on this channel. We are layered, we're individuals, and we're more than just the stereotypes that are portrayed about us in the media. And I feel like this is kind of why I really appreciate modern black films because they allow our characters to showcase that duality. They allow our characters to be flawed. They allow our characters to grow, to learn, and also to suffer consequences of our actions. And I think that's probably most important. And I think that's another reason why I really enjoy black cinema, black film. You get to tell stories from even if the character does go through some sort of trauma. I feel like now with black films, we kind of can see like a renaissance of our culture being shown in a positive light. And so I really appreciate black cinema because, like I said, those Norbit, those Flubber, those kind of days, they were rough, man. They were rough. And that's probably why for the longest time, when something black came out, I was never in a rush to watch it. I think probably when I started seeing black films kind of take a turn for the better was probably around the barbershop era when the characters went through things and learned and changed and grew with each other.
And I think that's a good point, RJ, because I do want to say too that when people view us a certain way, that's just how they're going to look at us in cinema. And that's how it's been a consistent cycle of those type of films, which is bothersome. But I do agree that I think the later 2000s era kind of was like, okay, we need to get out of this stage where it's like I said, the minstrel show and just making fun of people and stuff. Because that's the thing too. I didn't really attach to everything black back then, you know, and I hated when we know like a person who's not black will say like, oh, well, you didn't like this or you didn't see this. It's like, well, just because I'm black doesn't mean I have to watch it or I'm going to watch it, because everything from our, because since everyone here has media literacy, it comes from a perspective of, okay, does this make sense? Is this good? And also, is it rooted in naturalism? Because a lot of these films in the past, like especially in the 90s, are just like goofy slapstick comedies that just are just for the hell of it to make money off of it.
Like Chris, or like Rush Hour. Like, I'm not gonna say Rush Hour was a bad movie, but I feel like a lot of Chris Tucker's shtick is just being loud, and it gets to a certain point where it's like, all right, like Inside Boys.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with that, but I still think he's great. I mean, I still think he's a good actor, but yeah, I do think that he's set up, or he's setting himself up to do that same thing over and over again.
Yeah, it wouldn't work in today's time, 2025. You know, he's one of my favorite comedians, honestly. I've always loved him, but the things that you did back then don't necessarily work now.
And that's why he's been slow.
What'd you say?
Yeah. And I said that's why he's been slow to like get back into that. That's why he won't do that Friday movie, even though they trying to throw a bucket of money for him to do it. But if you really want to see him in a really good role, he did outstanding in Air. And I mean outstanding.
I did see that. He did great.
So, and obviously he was playing a real character, but that goes to show where he's kind of progressed to. One of the biggest things for me is just understanding or helping try to make people understand that when our stories are being told, though, we don't have to force. We shouldn't have to force other people to understand what we're doing for those stories to be told as well. Because a lot of times when they're telling their stories, they don't care if we understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's a good point.
That's how I see that. That's why that's one reason why I stay locked in with Spike Lee, because Spike Lee is going to tell his story the way he wants to tell his stories.
Exactly.
And that's why he crowd funds a lot of stuff, because he wants people to get his vision, not go groveling at a table, hat in hand all the time. Even when he's gotten bigger budgets, he still told his story.
Yeah. And that's why
Inside Man was probably the most commercially successful film he's done. When it comes to just box office, big budget. Everything else has been crowdfunded, lower budget style, because he's stripped it down because he wanted to strip it down.
Realistic.
But again, he doesn't care about who is critiquing his stuff.
But I also think that's what makes for a great black film. Like, thinking about the blackening, that wasn't made to be palatable for non-black people, but it was also a movie where even if you didn't get the black references, the HBCU stuff, the political stuff, you still anybody could enjoy the movie, but it wasn't made to be palatable. And I think that's the most important thing or attribute for me that makes a black film a good film is, of course, good storytelling, good lighting, good acting, but not making it palatable to black people, like dark-skinned dad, dark-skinned mom, light-skinned daughter. Like,
God, I hate that.
That pisses me off so bad. Like, I don't think y'all understand. Like, when I see something and I say, oh, so this looks interesting, and it's like, oh, light-skinned daughter. I don't want to watch it anymore.
And that's not to say, and again, this is, because I agree with everything you're saying. This is not to say that two parents, because DNA, you can make a lighter child, but again, it's Hollywood likes to do this thing where they have to have. Actually, no, I think Dwayne McDuffie said it perfectly. There's a rule of three. So if there's three black people in the film, then automatically it's a black film. But it's like, well, it doesn't have to be a black film. It's just a movie. But also there's that layer of the two black parents that have a lighter skinned child. And I don't know if that's just a part of you guys want to represent, but I still feel like that's a little bit of the colorism that has been coded in Hollywood a little bit. So,
but where did it come from? I want y'all to think back too. Where the hell did that come from? Because that wasn't always a thing. The 90s, every woman was like brown skin, dark skin. We had a few, light skinned women here and there, but for the most part, like I feel like dark skin, brown skin representation was there. And even when there's a female lead now in a movie, it's always like Zoe Saldana or something, or somebody light skin or that can be racially ambiguous instead of like a black woman. It's just it happens a lot.
Well, being in the industry, a lot of it is pushed by white executives, directors, producers. And then also our community needs to take accountability too, because it's pushed through our music, 90s hip hops and stuff. Like they had dark skinned women in the music videos, but over time you slowly saw.
Or they was in the background.
They were,
you had the light skin or the non-black girls.
They were getting pushed
next to the talent.
And so they will push the standard, the beauty standard, what's closest to whiteness. And a lot of us fall for that in our community as well, unfortunately.
And that's why I appreciate Jordan Peele. Go ahead, Dr. J, what were you saying?
No, I was going to say, I feel like it even extends past movies to content creators. Even when you look at YouTubers and you see YouTubers all the time that sometimes transition from content creators to actresses and actors, say when they go for roles, this is what happens. Or even with content creators, when they talk about darker skinned women, like they don't get as much sponsorships or recognition as someone who has, I'm like, what's the politically correct way to say it? I'm like, the classic light skin, curly brown hair, right?
Oh,
the default, yeah.
I'm like, I try to say politically correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and I feel like in movies, I feel like when they show the two darker skinned parents and the darker complexioned parents and then the light skinned child, I feel like it's like make it black but make it acceptable. Like that's what I get from it. It's like it's black, but hold on.
Because you have your executive that's speaking for all the people that look like them, because they know don't nobody want to watch no skin tone like this for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's what it boils
or
down
to. How long are they gonna believe what this person's doing on screen, because they're not smart enough. It goes back to our conversation about Cross. Like you have to believe. Why is it only Denzel can show somebody or be believable in a role?
Or Viola,
and the average other person who's just a great actor can't be that. Can't do that. You shouldn't have to tell it, and then you shouldn't have to make me a prototypical drug dealer to be believable.
Yeah,
I should be able to put on a suit. It's so funny when I get castings on my phone for something. Matter of fact, they're shooting something here now, and one of my coworkers was like, "Well, you could be a bouncer in the thing." I said, "I ain't gonna be no bouncer for what? Why I gotta go be a bouncer?"
But see,
I said because I'm 280. I gotta just be a bouncer. Okay, great.
Unfortunately, that's how casting. And
I
feel like they need to change that. I can't stand when you're looking at me, you see me as only this one thing.
Yeah.
When you have yet to see what I can actually do with my talent and my art. And it's very frustrating. I get it, Gerald. Definitely.
And because it goes to like, if you ever look at rom-coms, a lot of times Black people aren't the main focus of a rom-com. We're always the best friend of the main character in a rom-com. And that's why I think Intergalactic is so important, because, that's a drama, but you get what I'm saying? Like, on that scale, we don't even get Black love dramas. And so I'm trying to think of a Black rom-com with a Black female lead. I want to know, the girl from Blackish did one with some guy. What's the girl's name?
Issa Rae did that one
with the
Love is whatever. Issa Rae.
Gabrielle Union. She did one with the guy that played in the Bobby Brown, not the Bobby Brown movie. It was a Netflix movie. Gabrielle Union, and he was in the New Edition movie. He dates Ryan Destiny. Oh, that gave you nothing. Sorry.
Oh, are you talking about? Are you talking about Keith Powers?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was like, who? Like, I did nothing.
I'm looking at it right now.
That was a rom-com. Gabrielle Union and Keith Powers.
The Perfect Find. The Perfect Find.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, that was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like black films is so multifaceted, and colorism plays a part. That's why I appreciated Us, the movie, so much, because it was a dark skinned family going through a horror situation, and I don't know. I just appreciate doing things like that. I think the uniqueness of that was another reason, another layer to why that movie was so successful, because we don't get to see people with our skin tones on screen going through horror things, where it's either, the dad's in jail, or, it's a single mom working too hard and loves her kids and never stops, blah, 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 all of that stuff. Like it's never ever a situation to where like a normal dark-skinned black family is just telling a story. But I'm really confident in black cinema and where we're headed. With these great directors we have now, Quinta Brunson's in Hollywood. We got Issa Rae. I think black film, black media is definitely heading towards, a brighter day.
Yeah, and one last thing I want to mention is just with Captain America. I feel like since that movie's coming out, first off, go support. But that's a movie that we have to understand. People have to understand in the future that, as I was mentioning with the rule of three, if it's like three black people in a movie, then it's considered a black film.
Yeah.
But this movie, to me, I feel like is a black lead in a universe filled with other people, and this is the time where I think it's perfect, like you were mentioning, RJ, for people to step up and realize that, like, hey, we can make movies just as good. It doesn't have to be about hoods, guns, drugs, or anything like that. Like Gerald was mentioning too, we can exist in any type of world. I mean, any time it's funny that a black film comes out like this, like very popular, like Black Panther, Hardy Fall, whatever it is. The numbers are like high, in viewership. So it shows that things have to be good first off, of course, but also that we can do all this stuff that everyone else does.
Yeah, because I'm tired of going to the movies and not seeing nobody that looks like me. The only reason why I went to go see Imaginary was because it was a black lead. Even though it wasn't a black movie, I went to go see it because there was a black female lead.
Too bad it was terrible, but yeah.
I wouldn't say terrible. I'll say terrible. It was like an easy 6.
I will double down and say easy 3.5. It was
well, I will say this. There was one portion of the movie where I was like, well, why is the dad even here if he's going to leave? Like,
first off, I was not a fan with that whole thing anyway.
That storyline was not it.
Well, you could have done that movie without that guy. Straight
Thank
up.
you. Yeah.
So, and then, of course, blended family, it was, I'm sorry. It wasn't believable to me. It wasn't.
The chemistry wasn't there to me. They didn't feel like a couple.
You could have given us that same movie without she could have been a stepsister.
Yeah.
Honestly.
With the way they were acting.
Or they could have been a orphan family or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't on board with that at all. They forced that, that thing where it's like, heck, she had more love for the kids than dude did. He wasn't even there. I was like, nah.
And they was talking to her crazy. Like, nah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but you know what movie is not talked about enough? Wendell and Wild on Netflix.
The animated one, right? Yes.
Of the alt black girl, because I have my foot in that as well. Who loves like metal music, and who gets to still, keep her blackness. I like that type of representation. I think we're seeing that a lot more because, again, Black people we're not a monolith. We have different interests. We have different styles, but I love that movie. And I want to see more of that, the Black people who are infused in country music, and it shows up in how they dress and who they are, or, whatever it may be. Different genres of Black people is what I love to see in representation. And I think we're heading in that direction.
I have to agree with Des on that because, I think it's super important now, especially to show that Black people, we aren't, like I said, we're just not one thing. We have so many other things that we enjoy throughout our daily lives. And it goes to show that we're not the same. And even then, like different regions, different parts of this, earth, we come from different places too. So people, we do things differently. So I think that's important to show that on the big screen in the future.
I think Black media is changing. and it's kind of reflecting. And I know I'm probably the only one on this channel that watches wrestling, but I started noticing black media changing when black women started like taking over WWE, and not like in a small scale. Like a couple of years ago, we had the first black women to ever main event WrestleMania, which is the Super Bowl of wrestling. Two black women main event to WrestleMania. Even now, like some of the most popular women in WWE are the black women, and not just the light skinned, thick, baboon black women, you know? And so I think that representation in media is a good start. Like we said in the beginning of this live, and this would be a good way to kind of tie everything together. The representation was the beginning, is no longer the standard. And I think now that we're focusing on storytelling, we're focusing on layered characters, we're focusing on telling stories that are tangible and relatable, I feel like I'm definitely confident in where media is headed. So to wrap this up, I want everybody to give me 3 black movies, if you were to do a black movie marathon.
The Harder They Fall, Crooklyn, probably not Spawn, but probably something deep, like probably Poetic Justice, something.
Okay.
For me, Waves, The Blackening, and Black Panther.
Okay.
I know you got it.
Okay. Judas and the Black Messiah. I'll say, Do the Right Thing. Well, no. Damn, what's the damn movie with the damn song and the teacher, Mr. Clark? Shit.
Lean on Me.
Lean on Me. Lean on Me. And for the last one, okay, y'all gonna laugh at me. And to me, it's not a black film, I'll say. It's a black-led film. But Last Holiday with Queen Latifah and LL Cool J.
That's a good one.
It's a good movie.
That's a good one.
I don't think it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
I think it's just good. That's it.
Damn, Jay, you gonna do my favorite movie like that?
No, it's. I mean, it's for me.
I like Last Holiday. I was like, hold on. So I think my 3 would be, starting off with Queen Latifah. One of my favorite movies from her is Just Right. I love Just Right.
Okay.
I love Jones, also one of my faves, and something newer. I really like The Photograph. So.
Ooh. Okay. Good taste. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, I mean, I could probably be here all day trying to really think what I could go with, but I would say probably Training Day.
Ooh, okay.
Something a little older that I think still holds a lot of weight, just in understanding family dynamic. Soul Food.
Oh yeah.
And if I went with something more recent, golly, that's really a tough one. Because I've seen so much stuff. I just feel like I kind of struggle with just thinking of something that hasn't been said already. But maybe I don't know. I really don't. I really don't. I got so many things swirling in my head. But those 2 really stick out just because I think they were important for the times when they came out.
So if Gerald can't find a third one, I would say for honorable mention, Blade.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was a good one.
That. I mean, hey, the movie that saved Marvel.
Yeah.
Whether
Notice how
people
none
want
of
to
us
believe
said,
that or not, but that Marvel was almost sold. They actually literally threw that movie out. That was a throwaway movie.
Yeah,
it was. They filed for bankruptcy.
And it hit. So
notice how none of us said Baby Boy because it's not a good movie.
Yeah, no.
I said that earlier when we said bad movies. I think y'all didn't hear me. I said
Baby.
You said it?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, you did.
I said that earlier. I was like, even though BET has a lifelong contract with it.
Yeah, I can't do the Jody. No.
Yeah, I can't. Nope. There was nothing about that relationship or that movie that just, it was all terrible. Like
I will say the only thing that movie has done is keep Taraji P. Henson's fan base young. The amount of times that it has been played and played and played and played and played, I feel like you're kind of not forced, but if you watch BET, or I don't even know if we're in the era of people still have normal cable, I'm not sure, but if you do, Baby Boy is still playing. It's probably playing right now.
It is. It probably is.
Baby Boy is on repeat anytime I turned on BET. So
exactly.
There's a whole channel called BET Baby Boy, and this is gonna be Baby Boy all day long, 24/7. Like, wasn't
and then Snoop Dogg's character, I just can't.
Yeah, I can't.
It's just
getting
not.
Shot in both legs is always going to be insane to me because
Jody on a damn bike.
I know.
I can't. Yeah,
I don't know if that movie's worse or The Wash.
Like, I think Baby Boy is a perfect example of a relationship that I hope never finds me because
it enables a lot of degeneracy, unfortunately. I'm glad we're moving past that.
Yeah, because representation is not enough anymore. We just don't want to be on screen. We want to be on screen. Our stories told correctly. We want to be seen in a good light. Not to say everything got to be lighthearted. We can go through trauma. We can go through trials and tribulations, toxic relationships. But damn, can we learn something from it?
Break the general curses.
Yeah.
Stop this madness.
The generational curses.
And part of it, you just got to be. I mean, the folks that are making these films or they coming out with these scripts and things, they just got to be brave and keep fighting because that's what some of these people, some folks, they've been fighting to get these movies made for years. And you think about when they talk about, oh, well, this script is 13 years old and they've been fighting to get it out. And it's like, I mean, at what point are we gonna see our stuff? Like, I get it. Sometimes it's like, well, let me just go and shoot it in the hood because it's never gonna happen and it's not true. You just maybe haven't put it in front of the right person.
You gotta work. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with James Bland, but he had a YouTube series on Issa Rae's YouTube channel called Issa Presents. And that show, I want to say, I'm not sure if Issa produced that show or she picked it up and put it on her channel. But when I tell you, that probably was the first time I cried watching stuff, and not even a sad cry. It was more so like a release after I got watching it. It's about 3 Black millennials who are living in LA, just basically trying to make it. They're going through changes with their job, trying to find out who they are. They're questioning their sexuality, their existence, all of that. And the part that got me to cry was when the girl went to therapy because her life was like falling apart and she just was like didn't know who she was and she didn't know how she was going to climb out of her depression. She had lost everything. And so those are the kind of stories that we want to see on screen. So hopefully going forward, we will be able to see not only representation, but amazing storytelling, lyric characters, and more. So thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. It has been quite a blast talking with you guys. We may or may not be here next week. We don't know. But either way, something will post at 7:30-ish. Depends. That being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow our co-host down in the links below. Later days.
And go see Captain America.
Go see that. Yeah, that's coming out. Go see that.